think we'll get started, everyone. Good evening and welcome to our 2021 Year 11 VCAL Information Night. Firstly, I'd just like to start the evening by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay respects to their elders past and present. I also extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who are here with us today. So the first thing I'd really like to do is welcome you to Gisborne Secondary College, particularly as I know we have a few families that have joined our Gisborne Secondary College community since the end of last year. So it's really fabulous to have all our continuing and new students and their families with us here today. I also just want to acknowledge the tremendous effort of all students and families on getting through 2020. I know it was a bit of a journey. I certainly found it to be quite the challenge. So it's really fantastic that these students have continued on with their education and they're here with us in 2021. All right, Steph, can I get you to pop the slides up to support this presentation this evening? I'd also ask that you just bear with us. Obviously, when we planned this, we did plan to run it virtually, but in theory, all of the presenters you'll see today, we're going to be in the one location. So we're going to have to be a little bit flexible and try and be a bit agile as we go through this today. So first off, I'd just like to introduce you to some of the key people that, I'm going to go through the evening schedule first of what we're going to do today. So there'll just be a bit of a welcome and I'll introduce some of the key people. Then Stephanie Cast, our VCAL coordinator, will go through the VCAL program. Then you'll hear from our other senior school leader, Richard Palmer, and he'll go through just that balance of school, vet and work and some of the progression requirements for going on to VCAL in Year 12. You'll hear from Stephanie again, and then you'll hear from our VCAL events and sort of projects leader, David Butler, and he'll talk you through things like camp and excursions and activities that our students do. And then the evening will wrap up by 7:15. All right, Steph, can you? Okay, so just to let you know who some of the key people are in our senior school. Sorry, Steph, can you flick back one for me? Thanks. Okay, so at the senior school, we have our assistant senior school principal, Sarah Rose, our senior school student management leader, who is Richard Palmer, and as I said, you'll see him a little bit later. Myself, I'm the senior school programs leader, and we have our Year 11 coordinator, Miranda Brown, our VCAL coordinator, Stephanie Cust, VCAL events and activities, David Butler, our wellbeing leader, Belinda O'Meara, our careers teacher, John Takulin, and the other people that who you might have something to do with in the VCAL program are our workplace and Head Start coordinators, Ian, Hugh, and Kelly Houghton. So those of you involved in Head Start will obviously know Kelly very well. I'm also just going to give you a chance to be introduced to Miranda Brown. So Miranda's our Year 11 coordinator.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us tonight. So as Lauren said, I'm Miranda Brown. I am our group's Year 11 coordinator this year. I just want to take a really quick opportunity to say that our Year 11 group have had an amazing start to the year. They have been in their classes, they've been working hard. A lot of them have got their work placements sorted, which I believe were supposed to start this week, but some of them have been pushed back. And also that they've taken on the last 3 days of remote learning really, really well and taken it all in our stride. So if that's going to be a reflection of the rest of the year, it's going to be a really positive year. Thanks, everybody. Back to you, Lauren.
Thanks for that. All right, so I'm just going to go through a few elements of the calendar. It's a really brief overview, but just to let you know what the calendar and some of the important dates will be in 2021. So obviously throughout term one, we'll be looking at coursework, learning outcomes and excursions. We've got, I believe, one of our first incursions happening beginning tomorrow, which is really fantastic. And Dave Butler will talk to you a little bit about the camp. Obviously, that's going to be restrictions pending a bit later in today's session. In term 2, we have coursework and learning outcomes. There is an exam period for the Year 11 students. Now, that's only going to be applicable for students who are either doing a VCE subject as part of their VCAL, or they're doing a VET subject that is generally assessed by an exam. So students will be given fair warning and lots of notice about whether they are required to be part of that exam period. In term 3, we've got, again, just working through our coursework learning outcomes. There's also going to be a vocational awareness campaign. And then in term 4, we go through just rounding up the year. I do want to note that there's a 2-week step-up program, which prepares our students for year 12, which was really fantastic opportunity for us to start getting some of that year 12 work underway this year. So that runs from the 15th to the 27th of November, after which our year 11 students are finished for the year. All right, Steph. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Stephanie Cuss now, and she'll run through the next part of the presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Lauren. It's really great to see so many of you here tonight. It's been a fantastic turnout and what has been a very difficult and challenging sort of couple of days for some of us, I'm sure. So the main sort of thing we wanted to start off with was the difference going in from year 10 as a pretty standard program that many of you would be familiar with, into the different pathways that are offered at Gisborne and the differences between VCE and VCAL. So we've got a bit of a snapshot there, but you'll notice that most of it is exactly the same aside from uni. However, that doesn't mean that our students doing VCAL are unable to go on to uni. It just means that they've chosen a different pathway. And we're going to talk a little bit about that through our presentation tonight, and hopefully it will alleviate some concerns and questions that some of you have posted to me. But as a school, we're very proud of the fact that we have a strong VCAL program and about the fact that we have a growing VCAL program. It means that a number of our students are starting the transition between school and their future, so their career pathways, while they're at school, and it means that we can support them during the next phase of their lives. So a little bit of an overview of our VCAL in general terms. So it's a practical, more industry-specific pathway compared to VCE. So it's designed to prepare students for their future training, employment, skills that have work-related experience linked to them, as well as continuing with those literacy and numeracy skills, which are essential. But it also has elements of personal development. VCAL is split into competency-based certificates, and there are 3 levels. Here at Gisborne, we offer all 3 levels. At year 11, we predominantly offer foundation and intermediate, and at year 12, we predominantly offer intermediate and senior. So competency-based means that our students' level and their skills determines which level of the award they are enrolled into, which also means that we can tailor the program slightly to meet our students' needs individually. To put it into simple terms, foundation is a little bit more support. It's got scaffolding, guidance, and examples as it goes through. Intermediate is less teacher direction. There's more of a have a go kind of attitude to it, but there's still solid feedback and looking for students to improve and build on the skills that they can demonstrate. At senior, it's more of a mature and sophisticated response, and a lot more complexity of skills need to be demonstrated. So what does that look like? Well, it looks a little bit like this. It's a good visual to have. VCAL is a program that connects, as I've said, the school learning with outside learning, with community contexts, and it's a transition. So there's lots of overlap between what we do in our classrooms, what our students do while they're out at VET and TAFE, and what they will do during work placement and building onto their future pathways. So there's a little bit of real world issues involved. There's also contextualizing real world issues and linking that to the skills that we're teaching within our classrooms. Here at Gisborne, we refer to our subjects sometimes as strands. That's because it's a VCAL terminology. To be awarded a VCAL certificate, there need to be a minimum of 10 units, and a VCAL program must include literacy strand units, numeracy strand units, industry-specific skills, so that's our VET, TAFE, apprenticeships, Head Start programs. We've got work-related skills, personal development, and also some general credit units. So at year 11, you may have had a conversation with your student about a subject called portfolio. Within that unit, we have 2 general credit units available. And I'll talk a little bit about that later this evening. So essentially that's the structuring of a VCAL course, but it's individualized and it's a lot more free compared to that of VCE. So a little bit of information about our literacy and numeracy strands. Literacy is the English component, and within English there are 2 units, so essentially 1 each semester, and there are 4 areas of focus. They include self-expression, practical purposes, knowledge and public debate, and current events. Within literacy, students develop knowledge and skills relevant to reading and writing and their practical use in the context of everyday life with family, employment, further learning, and community settings. We also run numeracy. However, we have a number of students who are completing VCE mathematics to meet their numeracy strands. We also have some that are doing the extension numeracy course as well. So numeracy has 2 units, developing numerical skills and investigating industry numeracy. And within numeracy, our learning outcomes are designed to reinforce numerical understanding and introduce new relevant concepts for maths in real life before beginning to research into industry area, developing a deeper understanding of mathematics in the field of different works. Again, the mathematical strand of numeracy has 4 specific areas, and they're woven into each of those units. The other 2 strands of the VCAL core are personal development skills. So PD, as it's often referred to, is our link between our students' family, social, community, and environmental responsibilities, but it also focuses on building skills like resilience, self-esteem, health and well-being, and valuing participation in a democratic society. So it's really about students engaging with the world around them and building their self-confidence. We also have work-related skills as our 4th core subject, and this is our employability-focused subject. Work-related skills acts as a preparation for employment, and students focus on the development of employability skills and exploration of a range of career pathways. So I know that David has planned an incursion that's going to begin tomorrow that focuses on work-related skills units. So that's a little bit about the program in terms of the strands that we offer. I'm going to pass to Richard Palmer now, who's going to talk about balance, expectations, and a little bit of well-being as well. So Richard.
Thanks, Steph, and thanks to all families for logging in tonight and showing the interest in the programs that your kids are engaging in at secondary. I guess it's a bit of a shift change for a lot of these kids stepping into year 11 VCAL. We're outside of the regular 4 lessons of every 5 days of the week curriculum. We obviously step into having some industry experience with a work day, etc. as well. So it's really, really important that the kids, with the support of families, get off to a good start in working out what they need to accomplish across a week and getting that all balanced really, really carefully. You can see from that little star chart there on the screen, a range of different things become involved in a year 11 student's life. We read around the circle there, their VET and TAFE course. They obviously have family around them and friends. Some students are involved in part-time work and sporting involvements. Kids need to look after their health. And then obviously we want them keeping up to date and being successful with their schoolwork as well. All these things add up. They do create stress, but there's nothing wrong with kids learning that stress is part of life. It's about learning how to deal with it and move on. Next one, thanks, Steph. So we have, at Gisborne Secondary, we do have a promotions policy. So it's important that students coming into year 11 are aware of it. The basic reason for, or the guidelines for having the promotions policy are to support kids to develop a strong work ethic, but preparing them for success during their course, whether it be VCE or VCAL, in terms of meeting deadlines, submitting work, learning the appropriate study skills, meeting attendance requirements, elements like that. Some of the things we look at, if I look at the second part of that slide, some of the things that from school perspective that we look at in terms of promotion when we go up to from year 11 to 12, we will look at students' attendance rates across short time frames and longer term frames. We will look at how many units or competencies, outcomes, etc. for VCAL that they are satisfactorily passed. We do checkpoint through at various times of the year, particularly in semester 1, to keep a track on kids to see how they are progressing throughout the year. With their outcomes, etc., we want to make sure that they are at appropriate standard. We don't just want kids submitting work for the sake of getting it in. It needs to be actually at a particular level of standard. And we want to make sure, obviously, that kids have got the right course and their proposed selections for the year going forward are of an appropriate nature. Next one, Steph. Thank you. So we look down the bottom on this one. In order for year 11 VCAL students to be successful, and this is something we work with families on at all times, obviously in terms of numeracy, they need to have achieved 5 out of the 6 outcomes through both semesters in year 11. That's for year 11 for foundation and intermediate there. For literacy, again, for the foundation and intermediate, we need to have 7 out of the 8 learning outcomes successfully achieved for us to be confident that the students are capable of moving up into the next level certificate going into year 12. Thanks, Steph. So the next bit really, I guess, and this is relevant because we've got families who've logged in tonight, and what sort of role can you play in order to support your kids throughout the year to be successful? So the different, we can see we've listed a number of different things there. We want families actively involved in all components of their students' school life, etc. So in terms of their work placement, we've got a number of kids who are well progressed achieving their work placement. We want some kids are still in the planning process, so play an active role in that. We give them some support at school to work on that. But if parents and families can actively talk to students about how that is progressing and how that's moving along, then that shows the kids that they've got support at home for that. Check on how once that work placement or their TAFE course, etc., is underway. Discuss with them how it's progressing, all those sorts of things. Some of the students are doing their TAFE course off-site, their placement might be off-site. It's quite a culture shock for some of these students to be travelling by public transport to other inner suburban areas or up to Bendigo, wherever it might be. So there's a lot involved in their day attached to that. So for parents speaking to the kids about that, finding out how they're finding it, if there's hurdles or barriers getting in the way of being successful today, that conversation with kids is very, very valuable. It's really important to remember that the subject days and workplace days are definitely not days off school. They are a vital component to being successful for the VCAL course. So we need to approach all those days with a really positive attitude towards those. As always, in the school, we sort of hand on this one a bit. Attendance is paramount. Our data continually tells us that kids with the highest levels of attendance, regardless of their ability levels, they achieve success. Okay, so attendance is going to be vitally important at all times. There's always work for VCAL students to be doing, whether it's based on school classwork or the subjects that Steph's spoken about, or there's industry elements attached to it. We have managed to reduce the number of study periods that students at year 11 have at school. We're down to having 1 study period per week. there is always something for these students to be working on, finishing outcomes that might be incomplete, catching up on work if they've been out on a VET or TAFE day, which is a normal classroom day, things like that. So it's really important that students, right from the start of the year, get off to a positive start, mindset with keeping their work complete and being up to date. If a student is absent from, whether it might be their TAFE or VET or from school, we have the ability to communicate directly to teachers through using either Teams or the Zuno platforms. So that by establishing that communication, positive relationships what result there. We've talked there about the study periods. We moved down there to, I guess, supporting kids in reinforcing the work, school and life balance. As we mentioned from that chart previously, students and families have a lot of different components that take up time in their lives. It's about working out how to incorporate all those elements and meeting the obligations for each of them. And it's not just students. Parents and families play a really vital role in that. We want to make sure students perhaps aren't putting too much time into one area. It might be their part-time job. We need to make sure that it's balanced in a correct manner, that they have to give themselves appropriate and enough time to be successful in all areas. And the last stop point we've got there is, at any time, by all means, contact any of the people who are speaking to you tonight. Students are well aware of all the different people who are available to be contacted. If there's issues at any time, if we can have pretty, that quick contact, then that's in our interest, but it's also really benefits the kids if we've got that communication happening. I also work very closely with Belinda O'Mara and the wellbeing team. So Belinda is unable to be here tonight, but just to emphasise the fact that we know students, stress is one element, we talked about it earlier, but students and families also from time to time have other things which pop up in their life outside of school. We have support mechanisms at school that we can put into place, and if we look at one of the, the last point there, we talk about communication. The better the communication is, if we have issues or problems cropping up impacting on a student's ability to be at school or their ability to attend their TAFE or ability to be successful in getting their work complete, then we can adapt and work around that with family support. We just need to make sure we've got communication. So everyone here speaking tonight is a part of that, but we've also got a great wellbeing team led by Belinda who are available for everyone as well. So please be aware of that. That's it from me. So again, just like to thank everyone for logging in tonight. It's really, really great support for your kids, and we're looking forward to having a fantastic year and VCAL journey. Thanks. Back to Steph.
Thanks, Richard. So building on the points that Richard's just mentioned to you, we have a new policy that we're also bringing in, which links to that promotions policy, which is around coursework requirements. So this year at Gisborne, we've put a process in place to improve the achievements of our individual students, and our aim is to lift their levels by increasing the rate of coursework completion. So this includes both classwork and homework. And we're aiming to also work with our families with this as well, to enable a more transparent tracking of student progress, because we know that when students complete not just the learning outcomes, but the work that goes alongside them, the outcomes of learning are better, and it will align with potential growth and future growth as well. So when I talk about coursework and learning outcomes, essentially learning outcomes are the assessments in VCAL. Each subject consists of 1 to 2 units, and we have a number of learning outcomes that are determined by the VCAA, which is our curriculum body here in Victoria, for each particular strand. So, for example, in literacy, we have 12 outcomes in total. Those are determined by the VCAA, and our students need to address all of those 12 outcomes in order to gain a satisfactory pass in their units. So We're introducing this coursework because we were finding that a number of students were starting to fall behind, and by having coursework there, it means that we can signal that there might be something wrong, and we can engage in those conversations with families a little bit faster than we may have been able to in the past. And that's where having those links with us as a college and you as families, as well as linking with the wellbeing, means that we can support our students in a more holistic way, and also make sure that they're on task and on track throughout the year. So building on that, our courses at Gisborne have the following structure. So we have, as I've already spoken, we have 4 different strands, so you'll see them there. We also at Year 11 have the kitchen garden. So our students have 2 sessions per cycle where they are able to work in the VCAL garden and also able to take part in some practical cooking activities and learn some skills there. Though that subject will relate to work-related skills and to personal development. We also have VET, which for our Year 11s is both on-site and external, depending on what course they have. And at Year 12, we also offer VET business for our entire VCAL cohort. This year, we've introduced a new subject, as I previously mentioned, called portfolio. In this subject, it is the link between our students and their work, and getting some recognition for the skills that they're learning and the learning that they're undertaking while they're out at work placement, and linking that not only with school, but also with their VET. There's also a second component to portfolio, which is skills for future study, which is all about aligning our students with thinking about not necessarily next year, but in a couple of years' time, whether they might want to go on and do some further qualifications and upskilling, and planting the seeds of those skills that they need to be successful in that now. So things like looking at whether or not a source is accurate, looking at how to put up a schedule and stay organized. So there's skills that we find go alongside really well with our current course, and we thought that it was a good opportunity to provide our students with the option for an additional unit. We also, as we've mentioned, we've got Head Start. We're very lucky to have a great coordinator in Kelly. And we also have our industry component. So some of our students are doing SBATs and apprenticeships. And the point that we're sort of making here is that VCAL isn't just what happens between 9 and 3 at Gisborne. It's also what happens after school, what happens at VET, what happens when they're at work. And it's about linking all of that together with a pathway direction. So with that in mind, I'm going to pass to John Takulan now, who is our careers leader, and he will chat to you about that.
Okay, hello everyone. Yes, thanks for that, Steph. Look, the careers team, there are 5 of us, and you probably come across Ian and Karen, Kelly and Sonia, and of course myself. Look, we're here, we're a bit different to the rest of the timetable. We're off the timetable, and if there's any support that the student needs and or family members, we're just there to support, just in case things are not going too well in class, or things are not going too well with work placement or their VET, or even any projections you might have for the future. We're basically there to assist. Now, look, there's a whole list of things that I could, point out each and every point that I've got on screen at the moment. But just generally, look, I suppose the most important thing is that we want to ensure that every student has an opportunity to do some work experience or work placement. The difference being is that work placement fits in with the VET that you're doing, whereas if you are having trouble trying to find electrical work placement because you're doing VET electrotechnology, to buy a bit of time, you can always do some work experience in another industry, because it's just important that students do develop their employability skills. Okay, so just to buy a bit of time and get their confidence up. So another thing that we can give full support with is that whatever relationship the student has with their employer. If it's getting very good, we may even talk with the student about, well, what's the possibility of maybe us approaching the employer to maybe take you up on a school-based apprenticeship, you know, not leaving school, but maybe going from work placement to a school-based apprenticeship part-time. Or even if the student is having difficulties at work, we can actually give them a bit of assistance as to trying to find alternative work or maybe work out a new arrangement. And also on top of that, you know, we can work with Kelly to even take it further into Head Start. We've also got quite a few vets, and it is crucial that every student in VCAL does do their vet. Now, you might find that by the end of the year that they've taken up a completely different pathway. You may choose to do another vet, a first year vet next year in year 12. It doesn't matter. There's no point continuing on with something that you're not enjoying. But at the same time, I would encourage students to make sure that they find work placement throughout the year that suits their vet to reinforce that whether they like it or not. Look, and on top of that, and this is not just for each and every student, but also out to the families, we do give that one-to-one careers counselling, because there are going to be possibly times in the year where the student is probably lacking motivation to even go to work, go to their vet, or even participating in class. Where I'm happy to basically sit down with that student and work out, iron out, you know, some of the rough spots and see what alternatives that we can come up with. Even more so, if anybody is being offered an apprenticeship throughout the year, I always do a bit of a check to see if the employers or the business legit. I'm happy to sign off papers to say, okay, go on a 2-week work trial. You won't be marked absent, and see how you go for the 2 weeks. But at the same time, I'll be making sure that contracts are signed with the apprenticeship board to ensure that it's all secure. We don't want anyone leaving with false assumptions that it's ongoing work or it doesn't turn out to be an apprenticeship. There's also part of the careers counselling with each student. It's not just about this year. We look towards what's going to happen next year and also beyond. And that's why I've put on there the VTAC applications. VCAL students can still go on to university, and it may be that you will have to go through a TAFE course by doing a diploma. Once you finish that, you can then go on to the uni degree. So just because you've made that decision at the end of year 10 not to go to university, things may change throughout the next 2 years. You will not have cut any ties with that. As long as you continue with your vet subject, for example, if anyone was doing allied health vet, in 2 years' time, once you finish your year 12, you can apply through VTAC and apply for a diploma in nursing. Okay, just as much as it will have the same chance as any VCE student. So there is that opportunity. And on top of that, we've also would like to think that I like to open up students to the industry that they're interested in. You know, if they are interested in electrotechnology, it's not just about putting PowerPoints on a wall, but it's opening up to a whole electrical industry, which I'll just let the students know about, and even maybe letting them know about some of the opportunities in work placement or even a school-based apprenticeship. So I will be keeping a sort of a profile on each student. So every time I get information from any organisation or business, I'll actually forward that onto the student and the family, and you decide whether you want to follow through with it, and I can assist you with that. So, as I said, there's quite a few. There's a fair bit of outcomes to come out of this, but as I said, I'm I'm just like the GPS. You know, the student tells me what they want, and I'll guide you along the way how to get there. And as long as you keep the communications open, that's all the students have to do. So if I feel that the student does need a change, I can then represent the student when we meet up with the coordinators to make those arrangements if I think it's if the careers team think it's appropriate. All right, and that's what I want to say. But as I said, you can contact me and the team anytime via through Teams, email, and we're happy to chat online and or have a one-to-one meeting about any issues for the future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. So with careers in mind, we just wanted to clear up some questions that we've had around structured work placement. So we have made the call to make structured work placement a mandatory component of our VCAL course. We think that it just benefits our students far too much to not ask them to undertake a placement alongside their studies. Students need to undertake a placement in both semesters. They can be at different employers. There are some rules and some sort of things that need to be followed, but that's where having conversations and consultation with Ian Hugh, who's our structured workplace coordinator, and members of the careers team like John is really good. They know what they're doing and what they're talking about. So they're the people that we will always advise our students to go and have a conversation with. This year, so in 2021, we have set aside a dedicated work placement day. So for our year 11s, this is on a Friday, and we just want to re-emphasize that on this day, there are no timetable classes for our VCAL students, but there's an expectation that our students are either out working or seeking work to do on these days. So seeking work can also be volunteering and building connections within the community. It's not a day off, as Richard Palmer mentioned earlier. It's a day in which we are allowing our students to actively build their career pathways, and it's a chance that we think is very valuable, and we hope that our students also pick up on that value. So we have a couple more things to talk about, but I'm going to hand over to my co-coordinator, David Butler, who's responsible for camps, excursions and activities, arguably all the fun things that happen in VCAL. So I will pass over to David.
Thank you, Steph. And hopefully you can all stay awake a little bit longer. One of my year 12 students is very helpful. She puts the timer on every time I go to start talking and gives me instant feedback on that. So as mentioned earlier, my role is I teach one of the PD classes, one of the 3 PD classes, and help organise, I guess, different activities which can help address the outcomes or throughout, especially WRS and PD, and also attain some useful certificate courses along the way. Yeah, and so basically to complement the rest of the learning in VCAL and to give them some good life experiences. The aim of VCAL, as well as getting like the certificates, the VET certificates and the senior or intermediate foundation certificates, is also to encourage community engagement and extend students' comfort zones and just give them a variety of different life experiences. So that's what I'll be trying to do. One of the first upcoming activities, as mentioned earlier, is we've got Bully Zero Foundation giving a Zoom session to each of the year 11 classes, starting tomorrow with Miss Hall's class, and the other 2 will follow next week. Basically, to learn a little bit about appropriate behaviour in the workplace and what you should be tolerating, and how you should be addressed, and and to clarify about workplace bullying. So that's a useful thing to start, and there should be probably a short reflective task that students will have to fill out, and that will help address like outcome 2 in WRS. Also, an upcoming activity, we've just been granted permission from school council to go ahead with an overnight camp at Phillip Island. Now, details will come out shortly about that. Some students have played a little bit of a role in helping to organise this, and I'll get some other students to help confirm things. But basically, with the 3 classes, we're going to split them in 2, and they're going to go out Monday, Tuesday in week 8, and then the other half will go out in Monday, Tuesday in week 9. So that's coming up soon, and you should get some information about that. With those camps, they'll do a range of different activities on those at the camp there, and they'll have to prepare and organise their own evening meal. They'll have to demonstrate teamwork, and also, I guess, comply with some OH&S regulations and that, and then also do some reflective tasks upon return. So please look out for that. And if you've got any questions after receiving the information, please contact me. At the same time, when half of them are out on that first Monday, and the other half are back at school, we're going to start the rest back at school doing some short courses, starting with level 2 first aid. So we're going to register before week 8 with Short Courses Australia to do a series of courses, level 2 first aid, RSA, food handling certificate, and some job skills work and resume reflection. So look out for information about that. And if you can help your student register for those short courses, that will be good. So yeah, overnight camp and then level 2 first aid coming up this term. With payment for those things, at the end of last year, we asked families to contribute, work out a payment plan or pay the whole lot of $475 to go towards activities. So that will help pay for those things. And we're fortunate enough to have a grant from Department of Human Services, the advanced funding grant to help subsidise those courses. So VCAL kids are very fortunate. But if you haven't set up your payment plan with, say, Katrina Robertson, if you can do so, that would be appreciated. And soon I'll get a printout of who's contributed what. And I'll be given a running spreadsheet of who's done what activities. But I can update you on that if you have any queries about that. When we do those activities, we'll try not to clash with the vet days, although some students that are going out on like a Tuesday afternoon with their vet courses, that might clash with the Phillip Island activity, but we'll try to minimise conflict in the future there with that. And I'll try to also, besides giving maybe some emails at times and some hard copies of forms, I'll try and SMS before activities as well to give you a reminder, especially for the camp and things like that. And lastly, with some activities might be just in the local environment. So we'll try and organise a local area form, which covers, like, if you're going down to the fitness centre or to do an excursion just within Gisborne itself, and hopefully you can give permission there so they can go down as a group. Might be to do a literacy activity or whatever, but basically look out for a local area activity form as well. Look, that's about enough for me now, but yeah, hopefully you'll get some information soon about this upcoming overnight activity. Thanks, and back to Steph.
Thanks, David. So we just have one more thing that we wanted to talk with you tonight. It's probably a nice way to end the evening. So this year we have decided to introduce recognition tickets. This is because we want to highlight the achievements of our VCAL cohort, because our students work incredibly hard. As we've discussed tonight, they are juggling the demands of school, the demands of industry skills and vet learning, as well as a boss or an employer. And so on top of that, some of our students also have part-time jobs. So there's a lot going on, and we want to highlight the fact that there needs to be recognition and positive recognition for the effort and value that our students are putting in. So how we're going to do this is draws are going to be conducted the first Friday of each month, or where the Friday falls within the school holidays, the end of the first week. Students who win, so their name is drawn out, will receive a prize and recognition. And the way that students get a ticket, anyone with 100% attendance will automatically receive an entry into the draw. And there'll also be teacher discretion for consistent demonstration of our school values, so respect, achievement, innovation, and diversity, as well as consistent demonstration of our core principles of VCAL. So things like teamwork, community engagement, dedication, and perseverance. These tickets are going to be similar to a post-it note or a raffle ticket, and when awarded, a student just needs to place them in the ballot box, which will be located in the senior school office. So that's the office that David and myself and pretty much everyone that's spoken tonight, it's our office. And we feel that it's really important to recognise that our students are putting in a lot of effort, and that they do have challenges as senior school students undertaking a VCAL pathway that are on above and beyond the school requirements, and we want to make sure that they're getting recognition for that. So we feel that this is a positive way of reinforcing our school values, but also recognizing that our students are putting in effort. So that brings us to the end of our formal part of our presentation. We're happy to answer questions if you wanted to post them in the chat. Otherwise, thank you for your attendance tonight, and we are super excited to be back at school on site tomorrow, as I'm sure our students are as well, even secretly inside if they don't want to admit it. And we look forward to having what will, touch wood, be a exceptional year, and we're really excited as a VCAL staff body, but also as a VCAL collective, so including our students, with the opportunities that lie ahead of us in 2021. So we're happy to answer any questions if you want to pop them in the chat. David and I will stick around for a few more minutes. Otherwise, thank you for joining us tonight, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.